What if you could build a digital version of yourself? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but it's actually way more doable than you might think. Today, we're going to dive into how to create your very own personal AI, a digital twin that's designed to represent you to the world.
So let's just kick things off with a pretty bold question. Think about your resume for a second. That static PDF we've all been using for years, is it completely obsolete? I mean, in an age where AI can have a conversation, a document that only talks about your past is starting to look like a bit of a relic.
But what if your resume could do more? A lot more. Imagine if it could actually answer questions, show off your personality, and have a real dynamic conversation on your behalf. Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today.
Right, so let's stop thinking of it as just a resume. It's more like your personal AI ambassador, an agent that's out there working for you 24/7, presenting the smartest, most articulate version of you, all based on the data that you give it.
And listen, this isn't just some crazy idea I cooked up. The stuff we're talking about today is actually based on a real-world workshop on AI agents from Soochow University. It just goes to show you how accessible this kind of technology is becoming. Okay, so let's get a really clear definition down. A digital twin, for our purposes, is an AI agent that you train on your own data. We're talking your work history, your skills, even your personal projects. It takes all that in to learn how you think, so it can answer questions, well, just like you would.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds super complicated, but the toolkit you actually need is surprisingly simple. We're going to break it down into just 4 key ingredients to get your AI ambassador up and running.
And I'm serious, it's just 4 things. The barrier to entry here is way lower than you'd expect. You don't need to be some coding genius. You just need to know where to grab a few key pieces.
So what are they? First, a PDF of your LinkedIn profile. That's the professional foundation. Second, a simple text file for any other little details you want to add. Third, a service called Pushover for notifications, and we'll get to why that's so cool in a minute. And finally, an API key from a large language model. You can think of this last one as the actual brain that powers your twin. Okay, toolkit assembled. Now it's time for the fun part, the build. Let's walk through the core process of how you actually combine these 4 ingredients into a real, functioning digital twin. And here is the absolute best part. You don't have to code this thing from scratch. No way. This whole project is built on open source code from a developer named Ed Donner, and it's all just sitting there on GitHub for anyone to use and tweak. For anybody who wants to really get their hands dirty, there's the link. You can find all the code, all the instructions, everything you need to build this yourself. It's a fantastic place to start. The whole process really breaks down into 5 straightforward steps. First, you connect the AI brain using your API keys. Then you set up a way for it to talk back to you with notifications. Next, and this part's really important, you write its instructions, like its personality and its rules. After that, you give it some tools to work with. And finally, you get it ready to go live. Let's circle back to that pushover thing for a second, because this is such a clever part of the system. Think of it as a safety net. If your AI gets a question it has no idea how to answer, it doesn't just crash and burn. Instead, it forwards the question straight to your phone. It's a brilliant way to keep a human in the loop, so you always have the final word. All right, so you've built it, you've tested it. The final piece of this whole puzzle is deployment. This is that magic moment where your private creation becomes a public ambassador that anyone in the world can actually talk to. And deployment is just a fancy word for uploading your code to a platform that can host it. The workshop example uses Hugging Face, which is a super popular spot for the AI community. Once your code is live on a site like that, you get a link you can share, and boom, suddenly anyone can have a conversation with your digital twin. So we've gone through the what and the how, but now we need to talk about the most important part, the why. Why does any of this even matter? Because this technology, well, it's about so much more than just a clever resume. This is the real shift in thinking right here. A traditional resume is a static, one-way document about what you did. A digital twin, on the other hand, is a dynamic, two-way conversation about your skills right now and your potential for the future. It's really the difference between a flat photograph and a fully interactive hologram. So the big takeaway here is this. We are walking into a brand new era of personal branding. This isn't just a gadget, it's a whole new way to control your own narrative, to showcase your expertise, and to manage your identity in a world that's getting more and more automated. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought to chew on.
Right now, we build these agents using data from our past. But as they get smarter, they won't just be reporting on our history. They could actually start to shape our future. So the real question becomes, what story will your digital twin tell about the person you haven't even become yet?